simply say, go deep into any problem that you want to solve. First, identify it as a problem. Go as deep as possible to identify every primitive component that requires a revisit, and then start solving. Don't jump into conclusions, or don't use your startup to kind of evaluate tech, evaluate any platform, or evaluate any technology or new framework. Like, see if it is useful and then solve it. Because
welcome everyone to Startup Duniya, showcasing the inspiring journey of startups. This is your host Yasmin Khan, and today I am pleased to welcome talented, amazing co-founder and CTO of M2P Fintech, Mr. Prabhu Rangarajan. Welcome, sir.
hi Yasmin, thanks for having me here.
Thank you, sir. Today we'll try to seek insights about the fintech world from you.
Sure.
So, so starting with my very first question, sir, I would like to know what is the story of M2P Fintech? What is the entire journey? How the journey started?
Sure. So I'm just going back 5, 6, 7 years behind. So this was 2013-14 kind of time frame. Madhu and Muthu, the other co-founders of M2P, they were colleagues at Visa, and all this entire journey started over a cup of chai, because them being Tamilians, and normally in a Mumbai kind of an office location, when there are people who are Tamil colleagues, right? Often you get to go out to have a cup of chai and just have a chit chat kind of session. So this idea of M2P, of serving fintech, or building a fintech kind of a platform, started over a cup of chai, if I would like to put it in a nutshell, right? So it was a casual chat that Madhu and Muthu were able to see the kind of problems companies face in launching fintech products in partnership with banks and regulated entities. Even though India had so much of opportunities and availability of banking, availability of infrastructure, there was not one company that was able to do a proper go-to-market kind of strategy for launching any fintech product back then, right? I'm talking about the time when Paytm was just a $20-30 million company, right? Now they are looking at going to the IPO. So just imagine over the last 7 years what all have happened over fintech. So so that's when M2P was born. Madhu and Muthu decided that they're going to probably quit Visa with all the learnings, all the feedback that they had taken from the market. Can we do something different? Can we have a company built which will actually connect the dots between what banks have to offer and what companies want to build? That's the beginning story of M2P. And then I joined the team in late 2014, early 2015. I joined the team, and we set out to kind of reinvent how fintech products get launched in India and then across Asia.
Again, quite interesting. I can say that again, this is the story where chai is creating history.
Absolutely. A lot can happen over coffee, is what Coffee Day's tagline is. I would like to tell the same for chai as well, right? A lot can happen over chai.
Over a chai.
Yeah.
So a quite interesting journey. Now I would like to know, like, tell us about your products and solution in detail. Like, people who are new to fintech, who are new to M2P, in very simple and easy language, how can you just explain us the product and the solution?
Sure. So let me take an example, right? Like, say for example, a TCS, right? TCS has over 3-4 lakh employees in India, right? Let's say they want to launch a card program or a fintech product, like a bank account opening product for them, specifically tailor-made for the Tata group of companies. Today, there is no one-stop shop to go and get that done. Like Tata would have to kind of consult with the banks that they work with, or have the banks launch the product, or make it tailor-made for them and then go and launch the product. Right? This was not available 6-7 years ago. So taking the same example, what M2P does is that we sit between the companies that would want to launch the product, and on the other side, work with banks or the regulated entities like prepaid issuers or any regulated entity like NBFCs. We work with both the types of entities and ensure that this entire program of launching a specific fintech product is program managed fully by us. So we take it like a managed services kind of model where we own the entire product journey. We don't sell products, right? What we do is we co-create the product with the companies that would want like to launch a fintech product. And we believe, like at M2P, what we believe is that every company, every business, every industry has a fintech angle to it, because any industry or any company would have some sort of interfacing with money, right? The moment there is a finance related function that happens in any business, you can always intervene that with tech, right? That's where you can connect the dots between fin and tech, and that is what we do. To make it even more simpler, so let's take the earlier example of TCS wanting to launch a card program for their employees, right? What we do is we have already tied up with several banks. Let's say TCS would want to work with an ICICI bank. We already work with them. And if they want to launch a employee benefits card program, right, a meal card or anything like that, right, we can simply request ICICI to create a program for this, and we can do the entire program management cycle for that and help Tata or TCS specifically take decisions around how they're going to onboard the customer, how they are going to service the customer, and how they are going to actually do the customer acquisition or retention and maintenance, right? They can focus on those areas, and we focus on all the tech, operations, reconciliation, all the elements that are required to run a card program. And the banks will always be able to focus on the regulatory ask, like reporting to RBI, how the customers are, the customer custodianship, the fund custodianship. All these things are managed by the bank. So to precisely put, we sit in between the banks and the businesses to launch any fintech product.
Okay, so I would like to know a bit in like a recap of the business model for really a new people who are watching this interview, who are very new to the fintech. So how is the start? Like you explained us the entire summary. So I would like to know from start to the end where the fintech product end. So just a chain in a gist.
Sure. I would rather take a step back, right? Like, so let's say if there is a specific need, or in the earlier example that I took, right? Let's say the beginning of our journey started with how can we actually make certain things better, right? So what we set out to do was we saw the list of items that are required. Like we just did a kind of a project plan, kind of an exercise where, okay, if we would like to have a product launch in the market, what are the actual steps that are required, right? Like we listed that down, jotted all the trivial and intricate details that are required to be done, identified the dependencies, right? There are multiple parties. Let's say you go to an ATM and withdraw cash, right? Not many know that the bank works with 10 different companies to have that ATM servicing done. That's how that's how much effort that goes into a simple ATM cash withdrawal, right? It's like 10 different companies actually participate with the bank to enable the bank to offer ATM withdrawal services, right? Similarly, every fintech product has multiple dependencies. So we identified those areas, then saw what are the areas where there is tech intervention required, innovation required, and we clearly chalked out a plan for us, like a 6 months, 9 months, 1 year kind of plan for us to start building one by one. So the first thing that we started building was actually having a customer onboarding journey and a customer account creation journey, right? The customer account may be a wallet for a wallet like a Paytm or MobiKwik. It may be the actual store of value for a card kind of a program, or it can be a savings account for a neo banking kind of a product. So the type or form or shape of the account may vary based on the type of fintech product it is. However, the onboarding journey, right, it has to be simple. Now that there are so many options, there are so many neo banking stuff that is going on, we can't just have the customer undergo paperwork or a very cumbersome process, right? Like, so what we did was we took items one by one. started simplifying that. And like how Steve Jobs had said, simplifying a certain thing requires a lot of effort, right? Like before something becomes simple, you will have to actually intervene and do a lot of efficiency. Like you have to derive a lot of efficiency. You have to make sure that each and every process is kind of taken care of, right? So that's what we did. Every item was split into multiple smaller chunks. We identified where are the external dependencies. So what we decided ourselves was that we were bootstrapped for a large part of our journey. From 2014 until early 2020, we were bootstrapped. Like large part of 5-6 years, we were bootstrapped. So we thought we can't build everything at once. So we knew that we are a sub 20 member team. We didn't have any plans to hire like hundreds of employees. So we were very clear that we will have only limited set of people. So we will be able to do only certain things at any point of time. Only 3 or 4 different parallel tracks can be run in such a such a people strength that we had. So we decided to first simplify the onboarding journey. So what we set ourselves as a target was, if it took 1 year for a company to launch a product with bank, can we bring it down to 2 months, right? To begin with, that's what we started doing. So we went and signed up deals with banks where we will bring in fintech partners, we will bring in businesses, we will bring in co-branding arrangements. You give us a template of uh, how the agreement should be there, how the paperwork should be there, what are the different forms that they need to sign. All those paperwork and other stuff that generally takes a lot of time in banks, we had to take one-time approval. We spent like 6 months, 8 months sitting with banks to get those things done. And then for every fintech or every company that came to sign up, it was like a 2-week activity instead of a 2 month or 3 month activity, right? Similarly, there were several other lines like tech. Again, what we did was we chose to do only APIs. We didn't build a lot of front ends, lot of apps. We did not do apps at all for the last for the initial 5 years. We did not build any major app, Android or iOS apps, because we didn't have a lot of strength in doing B2C products. We knew our strength, that our strength is to build the backend engine properly and orchestrate it over APIs. So everything, anything and everything that we built in M2P, we have made sure that it is available as an API, which can be exposed to an external world, whether it is a company or a bank or a third party. So on the tech side, we solved everything by simplifying it. While we saw Postman grow from a startup to a unicorn, we were also going through the journey of making sure everything is API-fied, right? That was on the tech side. Similarly, on the operation side, if you look at any fintech product, the key is an actual fund movement, right? Because every fintech product does go to the first principles. It is like money moving from point A to point B, right? It's as simple as that. You pay, you go to a store, pay using UPI. It means the money moves from your account to the shopkeeper's account, right? Similarly, every fintech product that you see, it is always a money moving, like it's like a money flow that happens from one point to the other. So that's what we wanted to empower. So what we did was we started questioning every step of the way, how the money starts and how it goes to the destination. So we had to simplify the operational process also for it, which means we had to spend time with the bank operations team, understand what are the different steps, how many vouchers they pass, how do they pay GST, how do they earmark funds for income expense, what are the third parties that they pay for, like they will be a reconciliation software provider, we may have to pay them. How do we simplify all these things, and how can we in-house many of these things? This was our initial 3-year journey, right? We had to build everything ground up, keep questioning status quo, keep questioning how things were done till that point. Can we do slightly better? Make sure that it does not just follow the legacy. Can we build something new? That's how our first, I would say, till 2020, end of 2016, that's how things went till about demonetization time frame. That's how the company was running towards.
Fantastic journey. So now tell us about the current scenario in M2P. How many employees are there? Like what are the current projects, and the current how is M2P now?
Sure. Yeah, it's a very good question. In fact, when we going back to the roots, when we set out to build M2P, we all of us, like the three co-founders plus the initial founding team, all of us had worked with big tech companies. I had worked with Verizon. Madhu and Muthu worked with Visa, Citibank, PayPal. So we had seen it all. Like we had seen how big tech companies and big conglomerates work, right? They operate. They have a clear cut culture of how they approach customers, how they approach people, how they approach partners and all these things, right? And we had a clear cut set of must do's and must don'ts, right? More don'ts than do's, right? We knew that we can't do these things as a startup, because these items will end up giving us trouble in the long term. So what we did was, we had a few thumb rules. We always wanted to, because every tech company is built around technology, process, people, and all that, right? The order may change in every tech company, uh, but we were very clear about our order. Our priority was always people. We wanted to build a people focused company, where it's not a tagline of sorts. We really wanted to have our people to be our power, because if let's say tomorrow all of us wake up and say fintech is not there, you have to build something else, right? With the kind of people we have in the team right now, we can build any type of company in the world. So that's the kind of content that our people have given us. So we set out to build a people first company, which means we had to do few things very, very differently. We said none of us will have any titles, like no fancy titles, no unnecessary distractions, right? Let's just call ourselves what we are. And we will not have hierarchy. We will have a flat organization where intern who joined yesterday can question Madhu, who is our business end of the company, or myself or Muthu, and they can get the job done. And if somebody is leaving home, ensure that you don't keep a task open without communicating to the external world that this is going to get overflown to tomorrow, right? Unnecessarily, like don't take tomorrow for an answer unless it is really really impossible to finish by today. So these were a few thumb rules that we created, and strictly followed. And again, no emotions attached to the any of the tools or any of the products that we built. In fact, the first product we thought was a big problem in the market. We had to kind of trash it, because it didn't really actually do or create a major impact. We thought like, okay, we'll assign a stop loss for every product built. If it works, fine, we can build on top of it. If it doesn't work, we'll just cut loss and move on. So we had a stop loss as a plan for every product that we built. So these were a few thumb rules that we kind of agreed upon. And I'm very lucky to have co-founders like Muthu and Madhu, who kind of agree, respect each other's decisions. Like we gave, because if every decision in the company has to come to the three of us, it's almost impossible to run such a big company. And it all started with about 5-6 folks, completely driven, very, very enthusiastic folks from very varying backgrounds. But the goal was very clear. We had to build something ground up, which means a lot of labor and effort had to go. And they absolutely kind of smashed it, I would say. There were so many sleepless nights, so many near death scenarios that we had faced, and the team kind of guided us through the tough periods. And I would say the initial 40-50 member team that was there till end of 2019, almost all of them are still here, still with us. That's something that I'm very, very proud of. If you ask me like what is something that makes you very, very proud about having founded M2P, that is one thing. We have formed a core team, which is like, we compare ourselves to CSK ourselves, not somebody else is doing. We do it ourselves, because CSK has this core kind of a team culture, right? Like they form a core and they stick with it for like 10 years. So similarly, we have a core team, which is actually the all in all of M2P, right? Like they can do anything from engineering to product to operations to tech support. They can do anything and everything, and they'll never flinch. They'll always stand by, and they've kind of started mentoring the new folks who have started joining. And this team, to give you a perspective, it was like a 50-60 member team in March of 2020, pre-pandemic, and we are now a 500 strong team. So we grew like 10x in the last almost 18 months, which is phenomenal. And the reason for that again is the people function that we had to form. We had to kind of do few things differently. We had to form a complete people function, clearly lay out, because it's very easy to have a flat organization in a 50-member team. In a 20-member team, it was quite easy. In a 50-member team, it's slightly difficult. The moment the headcount started crossing 100, 200, again, these problems started coming up, like having a hierarchy, having a management kind of a culture, and all these things started, slightly showing its faces. But we somehow have managed to kind of still keep it in the same manner how we were like six years ago. And one more thumb rule: everybody has to work. There is no person in M2P who's just a people manager. Everybody has to be hands-on. Yeah.
Yeah, so I have seen on in your website like there are many blogs of your employees of the month, and that is something very interesting. I have never seen like the kind of entire blogs you have written for your own employees to encourage them, and that's why this question raised in my mind, like how you all function together, and that's a great thing. So congrats for that.
Thank you.
And,
Thank you.
and secondly, like I was about to ask, like what are the challenges you have faced in the entire journey, and how did you overcome from them? And like half of the answer I've got it. There was a sleepless night, as you mentioned, and even your team is the reason the challenges have been overcome. But now I would like to know from you more. What are the other challenges, like with the coming up with it was the digital India coming with the time. So all these changes, the demonetization, everything. These all are the challenges for every business. So how what this challenges? How did it affect you? And what are the other challenges you faced as an M2P fintech company? And how did you overcome from that?
Sure. Very good question, actually. Starting up is all about challenges, right? Like we all wake up to a challenge. We finish off the challenge. We either solve it or prolong it, and then we go to sleep. And then next morning, when you wake up, when you open the messages or the inbox, you find few more challenges lined up, right? Like that's day in and day out. That's how it is, and we are quite up for it, right? Like that's what makes us or keeps us awake, or really pushes us to run to office. So challenges, I would probably split it into multiple streams, like some internal challenges. Of course, when it is a small team, when you are building something ground up, when you're building or challenging status quo, what happens is like you have to do so many things. Like each and every person has to wear multiple hats. It's not like I am a coder, I will only write code, I will not do stuff. Like our developers have actually written documents, written product documents. Our product guys have actually done testing. Our tech support people have actually done operations work. Our operations team have actually done, uh, you know, uh, query writing and all these things. So what we had to do was initially we mitigated these challenges of scarcity of people, scarcity of actual enough roles, by making sure like each and every person is an owner himself or herself. We gave them the complete autonomy and freedom, and told them like, hey, if I was not available in an office and you had to take this decision, you had no phone, nothing, no way to communicate, however you would want to solve it, right? So we gave that amount of ownership to people, and we stood by it, right? Like the only thing that we as founders could do was to ensure that your people are always comfortable with whichever decision they take. It may fail, like none of us are perfect. Some decisions may fail, some decisions may backfire. We'll back the team at all costs. Like there has never been any situation where at M2P we put people over profits. Okay, sometimes we have lost businesses because some of our people took certain decisions, and we just took that as learning curve, right? So because of lack of or scarcity of talent, there is always a problem which every company in this world of any size is facing, right? Everybody knows, like you would have uh, saw news articles about the great resignation and all these things, right? Like every company of any size, like from Apple to the latest startup, we face a tech or talent issue. That's one of the challenges. That's an ongoing challenge. I'm sure it's going to continue. We are trying out innovative ways to do it, but our way of mitigating it is to make sure that people are completely affirmative about whatever they do, completely they touch it and they own it, whatever they do. And the other challenge that is always there is like probably related to our business, right? Our business is like working with banks on one side and working with the businesses on the other side. So it's like a chicken and egg problem. The more banks you have, the more businesses will come and approach you. So to create that kind of a model, we had to make sure that we go and get entrenched with multiple banks. And initially, it was very hard. In the first 1.5 years, we found it really tough to kind of get signed up with a bank because of course Madhu and Muthu and I had credentials in our earlier job, but the moment you quit the job, those credentials are only going to take you to a certain distance, right? So we had to make sure that the product, the MVP, was kind of ready, and the banks really had felt that as a problem, and we had to go in and make sure that we spent disproportionate amount of time to simplify it, make sure that we made some bankers' job easy, right? That's how we solved it. We signed up initially. We signed up with DCB Bank. We are very glad to have them as a partner. Till date, we have a very strong relationship with them. And then we signed up Equitas as a bank even before they became a small finance bank. Equitas was a MFI back then. We signed up with them for loan disbursement kind of products. And we also signed up with Yes Bank. Again, Yes Bank has been phenomenal in terms of partnerships. Uh, so signing up with banks, making sure a product distribution channel is created through banks is a very, very big challenge for any fintech startup. Because bankers can do only so many things. They can't actually create a partnership loop of like, let me have 500 different partnerships. They just can't do, right? So that's going to be a challenge, and to an extent, we think we have some methods to kind of mitigate the challenge. We are open to we work with companies of varying sizes. Like we work with just born startups to very, very big tech companies like Ola and Uber and all the big tech companies, right? So we have kind of tried to mitigate that problem of partnerships as a problem to an extent by working with multiple banks. And the other challenges are related to how you kind of keep the culture, right? Keep people motivated, keep partners motivated. We solved that by communicating. We had to communicate. We had to kind of make sure that the thought leadership that we had some sort of a first mover advantage. So we had to maintain, maintain that lead over everything else, right? Like, so we had to put in a lot of efforts around how do we unlearn and relearn day in and day out. So that's a challenge again, which is an ongoing challenge, which will continue for some time. And we did not have any problem related to access to capital. We had never taken any term loan. We had been a sustainable business for a long time. But that was the India story, right? If we had to be satisfied, happy about our India operations, we could still have been run our company without raising any external funds. But the moment you have to set foot outside of India, you definitely need some amount of capital infusion and all that. So that's why we went out and 18 months ago we went and raised money. We are live in more than 8 markets right now. The next few months we'll be live in over 10 markets. So access to capital has helped that, right? Which many other startups feel that access to capital is an issue, even though there is so much of funding frenzy out there. Getting that first check, that's actually going to be a challenge. Like many companies have failed trying to do that. So that is something that we did not face as a problem, but we identified that that will be a problem if we have to do an overseas kind of a play. And then I think these were the major challenges. There were many minor challenges day in and day out. I think we were able to kind of with the initial set of thumb rules, we were able to kind of mitigate most of those.
And you rightly said challenges are something like that keeps us going every morning. Now I would like to know the story behind M2P as a word, as a logo, and as the name of the company. What is the story behind M2P name?
Okay, so so the first product that I told you, right? We thought we'll build something for the merchants. So we in fact we had another brand called Yap. So what we did was we were trying to kind of reverse the way payments are made. Back then, back in 2013, 14, wallets did not come to main stage. Right? Paytm was in its infancy. MobiKwik was just born. So wallets were not seen as a main channel of making payments, right? At that time, cards were the thing. Credit cards were like launched by all the banks, and slowly debit card volumes picked up. IMPS was in its infancy. UPI was not born. So at that time, we thought push payments will be the future. We saw UPI coming like 4 or 5 years earlier, even before it was even conceived, because push payments is where users get to do or get to hold control of what they are paying for. Because if you have a card payment, or if you want to pay through card, it is a pull payment, right? You actually present the card to the merchant dips it or swipes it in his terminal, and then the money is actually pulled from your debit or your account or your credit card balance, right? Whereas push payment, if you do a Google Pay or a Phone Pay payment, you open your phone, you scan his credentials over the QR, and you make the payment, which means your property never goes to the merchant, which means you are pushing your money to the merchant, right? We saw this as the future, and we were in the right place at the right time. In fact, when Bharat QR was launched, out of the 14 banks that got launched on February 2017, right after demonetization, Bharat QR was conceived by all the networks, NPCI, RuPay, Visa, Mastercard. All these networks came together, joined hands, and created this model called Unified QR. It was called Bharat QR, in which UPI was also added after that. So we had 8 banks. We were powering 8 banks out of the 14 that was getting launched. We were completely ready with that, and we thought push payment is going to be the future. So we just thought we are reversing the trend, which means pay in reverse is Yap. That was our brand name for a long time. Since we had some sort of many other ideas coming together, we thought we'll stick to M2P as a brand. M2P was the company's name. It's merchant to power, and then it's Madhu, Muthu, Prabhu's first letter of our names as well. So it ticked all the boxes. So we thought like we'll go with that. And mobile to pay is again one of the other derivations. Right? It was P2P. Like you are very very well aware of P2P payments, peer-to-peer payments. We thought like mobile to peer will be a good model.
Since we are also the voice of MSME and like SMEVenture as a team, so we would like to know: are you planning or are you in any way working towards the digitization of MSMEs?
Absolutely. MSMEs is one of the important segment that we cater to, because as I said earlier, we are not a B2C company. We really can't go and mimic what Paytm has done, or any other company has done in the B2C space. It's very hard. We are not built that way. We always work with companies that work with MSMEs. So several of the companies that we work with are MSMEs, and there are also MSME focused startups that we empower. Like let's say a bank open, which is clearly building out the near banking experience for MSMEs, right? We are behind bank open. Like we actually empower their card stack. Their many of their fintech offerings are powered by us. There are several other companies that offer digital products to MSMEs, like a Razor Pay, uh, Carbon Card. Many companies, they're offering various things. Like Bank Open may offer a near banking experience, or a corporate card experience. A Carbon Card does a corporate card experience, and they also want to get into lending for MSMEs. Razorpay offers a merchant suite or a MSME suite of products. There are companies that offer very different digital products for MSMEs, and we are sitting exactly in the middle. We are trying to help the companies that actually work with MSMEs. In many of the cases, we don't directly work with the MSMEs, but we actually are behind the companies that work with MSMEs.
So, now moving to my second last question, we'd like to know the expansion plans of M2P, like your future plans and expansion plans.
Sure. So I think we initially set out to first solve India as a market to an extent, and India is indeed a very deep market where you can expand vertically, horizontally for a lot of time, because there is enough depth in this market, and good amount of population, good amount of what do you call? There is no resistance to change actually in India. People are open to kind of explore. See, like as we all have noticed, UPI was born in 2016, and now it is the topmost or the first highest used payment product in India. So India is kind of very open to change as well, and So expansion into India and India focus will remain as our primary, objective. We will almost be there in every opportunity that is available in India as a market will definitely be attended to. We have a very strong pipeline of products that or platforms that we are launching for the Indian context. And having said that, when you build a product for India, it has to be the best in terms of efficiency, in terms of frugality, in terms of cost effectiveness. It has to be the best, right? It is because India is the pinnacle of efficiency. We are always like, we always ask, even if it is a Mercedes or BMW, we always ask for its mileage, right? So we are built that way. We have grown that way. So we have always kept cost efficiency and everything in mind when we build products for India. And the moment you build for India, and RBI, since we are in fintech, RBI is one of the best or the most proactive central banks of any comparable nation, right? They've been very, very proactive in bringing in innovation. They like whether it is related to KYC, whether it is funding, or whether related to how tech products are or platforms are kind of maintained. RBI has been quite proactive in laying out the guidelines which we need to follow. So the moment you have done all these things in the best manner possible for a good amount of population, it is easily exportable or portable to other markets. So what we set out to do was, we thought we have done India to an extent. Let's expand into Asia first. When we say Asia, on one side we cater to the GCC markets, which is like UAE, Saudi, Qatar, Bahrain, the Middle East and North Africa markets, and on the other side the Southeast Asia markets. These are our primary goals for the next 12 to 18 months, right? Of which we are already present in 8 markets. We are live, and in the next couple of months we'll be live in 3 or 4 other markets. And over the next probably about 18 to 24 months, we will probably be live in over 20 markets in these regions, like the Asia, MENA, and the Southeast Asia markets. And we of course have a lot of inbound interest for other markets as well, much developed markets. We are already live in Australia and New Zealand as well. So we have a measure of how developed markets work as well. So the kind of product proposition that we need to take there must be very, very different. The kind of packaging that we do, the kind of orchestration that we do to any product has to be fine-tuned to the developed market as well, right? So the moment we do that, we'll probably venture into the other markets as well. But for now, our focus will be Asia and the surrounding markets to ensure that we capture most of the money flow in these markets.
And wishing all my luck for your expansion plans. And I know M2P as a team will definitely achieve all the plans. So moving to my very last question of this session, as a co-founder, CTO of a fintech startup, what is the message you want to convey to our audience?
Okay, so to simply say, go deep into any problem that you want to solve. First, identify it as a problem. Go as deep as possible to identify every primitive component that requires a revisit, and then start solving. Don't jump into conclusions, or don't use your startup to kind of evaluate tech, evaluate any platform, or evaluate any technology or new framework. Like, see if it is useful and then solve it. Because of late I've seen that many startups have started doing so many different things. They're spraying and praying, and they just kind of get lost, right? It's always better to kind of do one thing very well than doing 10 things in a mediocre manner. So I would rather say, any problem that you take, please spend more time understanding it better and try to solve it permanently than having a shallow kind of a solution.
That's a great thing. Like you said, very nice. So with this, firstly, thanking you, Mr. Prabhu, for your time and this chat. I hope you like the
My
session.
pleasure. My pleasure. It's thanks for having me here. I absolutely love the conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much again. So you can check out this interview at all the social media platforms of SMEVenture, that is Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and on the YouTube channel, obviously. And you can follow us everywhere. So please do like, share, follow SMEVenture for more such videos. Thanking again, Mr. Prabhu. And this is your host, Yasmin Khan, signing out for the day. Thank you.
Thank you.